Yeah, well, joining me now is former U.S. Ambassador to the UN and American Enterprise Institute Senior Fellow, John Bolton. Mr. Ambassador, you said we played a little clip of you at the beginning of the hour saying that this is an attempt to box in Donald Trump, but you don't think it'll work. Why not?
Well, because essentially everything that Obama has done so far is easily reversible. The real issue is what will be done with respect to the cyber attacks, the effort to meddle in the election. And I think, as Reince Priebus just said, really you have to give the president-elect a chance to sit down and hear from the intelligence community. And I'm sure he'll want to wait until some of his advisors are in office as well, and then he can make up his mind to get all the facts. There's been a lot of reporting. I've talked to senators who have seen some of the evidence. They're pretty convinced by it. But the president-elect is entitled to form his own judgment.
Well, that's the other problem with intelligence, is that it's not the intelligence people always tell us it's not it's a perfect science. It's an art at the very least. But at the same time, we've been told by Donald Rumsfeld told me a number of years ago that they've been hacking away at us. Cyber warfare has been underway for years. So,
well, absolutely. And no, absolutely. And not just by the Russians, by China, by North Korea, by Iran. The real question that Barack Obama is going to have to answer for history is what took him so long? Why did it take 8 years of having China lift potentially tens of millions of personnel records from the federal government and send them to Beijing? What North Korea did with Sony Pictures may seem kind of comic given the target of the attack, but what if they were doing the same thing to financial institutions in New York or to agencies of the federal government, as we know the Russians have been doing for a long time? The fact is that Obama has not done what was necessary in the cyber world, both offensively and defensively. We don't have structures of deterrence in place that make it very clear that anybody who tries this kind of thing would face extraordinarily painful consequences. So Russia and others think they can get away with it, and sad to say, so far, they're right.
Well, but then that's the question that I'll ask you to answer your own question. Why now? What's going on? None of us have ever seen President Obama act like this, ever.
Well, it's still feckless and inadequate, but my feeling is he's certainly trying to box the Trump administration in. But the reason for that is I suspect that he intended to do a lot of things in the transition period after the last election he was ever going to have to worry about before the inauguration of his successor. In the American campaign period, you can't do a lot of things because it looks too political, and our campaign period's now almost a year long. He thought Hillary Clinton was going to win, just like most everybody else for a long time, and he thought he could take all these steps that when Hillary was sworn in, she certainly wouldn't reverse them. She would endorse them, in some cases maybe even go beyond them. But he could get a lot done in these last few months with zero political consequences for him and minimal political consequences for her. And then she up and lost the election. So now their plans have been completely rendered inoperable, and he's very desperate.
This report that's coming out from the FBI and Homeland Security that we heard from Kevin Corke about, and he said it lacks specifics. Is that because they don't have them or because they can't tell us?
Well, I think it's largely because they worry about making public information that would compromise sensitive sources and methods. That's the intelligence community's typical response. But given where we are here, I think President Trump, once he's in office, should consider very seriously releasing more information, because what we've got now is such confusion and such politicization of the intelligence services by Obama that it's undercutting trust and confidence, not just in our electoral system, but in our intelligence as well. So that we're going to have to try and do what we can. Whatever the conclusion is that President Trump makes, people are going to want to know more about where this information comes from. And I think that's a reasonable request, and I think as starting off his administration, it's something he's going to have to look at very carefully.
Very interesting, as always. Ambassador John Bolton, always good to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
You too.